Welcome, everybody. You are most welcome to this little live event. First one I'm doing in this way on YouTube live streaming. This presentation will have a chat window, many people already know this, at the end where people can send in questions and I'll answer them in the last part of the presentation. Initially, I'd like to present what I do and why I'm here, many of you know, about this particular streaming event. Now it's pertinent to what's coming to transform this world that is not seen by most people and is unexpected. An event that is taking place for the first time in galactic history, in all multidimensional history actually, which makes it possible for beings I work with from off-planet, vast numbers of benevolent races that have gone through a consciousness change recently that's motivated them to begin to intervene in this planet in wondrous ways. Why? Because the people of Earth in galactic history, before people found themselves here on this planet, with most of or all of their former memory and higher faculties occluded or suppressed, something took place out in the galaxy that motivated people to begin to intervene here because people on Earth no longer have the true free will they think they have. What I mean by that is if you can't remember all your lives, most of which were lived on other worlds, not on Earth, even among all the lives people have lived here repetitively, if you can't, and you wonder, you think that being on Earth it's a normal thing to not know this stuff or it's God's will. It is not, and it's not normal at all. And oddly enough, all of this is reversible. So this is where my work comes into this picture on this planet. This is what my mission is about. It isn't aimed at harming anyone. It's as well focused upon a hidden or classified elite, royal families, reptilians, greys, whites, human, humanoid, all the races, mantis, you name it. What's going on now is for the benefit of all of them. What's going on is the retiring of evil as an experiment in the subconsciously, artificially created domain, where implants, I don't mean ones under the skin, were placed in human beings through the misuse of advanced non-terrestrial technology. That's the basis for what we're doing here today. So I would ask that you all hold back questions until, say, about an hour from now, when I get done with this presentation, to share with you what I've discovered and know with certainty. I only share what I've experienced directly and I know with certainty. That means it does not involve doubt or fear or theory or speculation or anger or revenge, hate, any of that kind of thing. These are artificially created emotions created by tyrants in galactic history, even in multidimensional history, to basically control masses of people. Looks like I'm looking at the chat window and I think we're good. Otherwise, my co-administrator here, M. Shastri in Ontario, would have told me that sound was off or something wasn't working. So I think we're probably good. Let me give you a little bit of background for those of you who don't know. I came to this earth originally more than 60 years ago to begin the unfolding of a mission that was scheduled to begin back then to help change this world in a wondrous way. My mission there was intercepted. The body I had was killed. I was forced into a body at 3 on this planet, like so many other people have been, and I'm not the only one by any means. What was done to me and many other people creates an artificial subconscious domain into which holographic type energetic implants can be placed. These artificially created control mechanisms or programs contain fear, death, torture, domination by some extraterrestrial race or even a higher being, an angel, whatever. And it's done to keep people believing that they'll find out the answers to things after they die, which of course is done so that they don't do anything about it while they're alive. So back then, I had an experience, quite profound. I never got into this body till just after it was 3. And my little body was walking up the steps to my parents' house, brick house in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I was above my body, and suddenly a thing happened where I was a completely aware adult human male, not from Earth at all. And I could see a sphere of golden energy, a kind of an energy projection above my head. And in it were geometric formulas, mathematical equations, positions of the star patterns, and I knew instantly that I was on Earth. And the first thing I said to myself is, Earth? What am I doing on Earth? This began a process of awakening throughout my life that I kept silent. I had a number of contacts with benevolent extraterrestrials, both out of body, down the time track, and directly, that I kept silent. My mother, who is elderly, healthy, only found out about what I went through as a child after I wrote the Say Raise Agenda book. That's this one, right here. See if I can get that on there just right. All right. When she read the manuscript, and it was written a long time after these three books of the Parallel Time Trilogy. This is Emerald Doorway, the first book of the Parallel Time Trilogy written. And I started to write it some years back, 5 or 6 years ago, to begin to document what happened to me for the benefit of people on this planet. And I had to go through 4 publications of this book. Can you imagine that as an author in just a couple of years? Why? Because I needed to do some considerable awakening and get rid of the effects of these implants that were misdirecting my nervous system. Because when I started writing it, I met a very important being named Ambassador Turelian. He's human, like us. Billions of years old is the race that they call themselves, the Say race. S-E-R-E-S, pronounced as if it was spelled phonetically, S-A-Y hyphen R-A-Y-S, Say race. We get our genomes from this race, and so do all the races in this galaxy. I don't care if they're reptilian or white, grays, it doesn't matter. Long ago in galactic history, people on Earth used to know, and that they've been deprived of knowing today. This race helped bring into creation all the various races that at one time were all benevolent, kind, loving to each other. Even the reptilians were vegetarian at one time. And once they brought them up to spacefaring capability, these different cultures on these planets, not just here, but in Andromeda, many other galaxies, they vanished from time and space for a while to see what we would do. And we all know the results of that. Something happened recently that brought about a change in their consciousness, something new that was brought into the entire creation that did not exist before about 6 years ago Earth time. A kind of a new ray that's been blended in this primordial first word of all creation known as hue. And how tyrants hide this in plain sight and slap us in the face with it. It's the first half of the word human. Pretty amazing. Sounds like this. You can do this with vocal cords. You can do it in your imagination, silently, on a bus, in a car. But there's something woven into it now that was not there before. Something in divine spirit, if you want to use that term. Something what beings from other worlds call prime creator, or what people refer to as the source, from which we all come. And this you, when done, sets up a conduit, a protected doorway through the pineal gland in the center of the brain in human beings and in other races as well. And it vibrates the head or cranium upward, basically the pineal gland. The pineal gland has water in it. It's also set up like the eyes with rods and cones, and it's basically designed for you to get in and out of the body through it. Third eye, you've heard of that. And to look through it and to connect with these different points within it that actually directly connect to places in the multidimensional universe, other dimensions, other worlds, people. One of the things that I had to wake up was that we are all telepathic beings, whether we remember this or not. When human beings are shut down or put through a process to make them less than they were, for whatever reason in galactic history, they don't recall the telepathy. They don't trust in this kind of thing. They don't remember how to get out of bodies. And if they try, oftentimes it doesn't work. But telepathy is a pure form of communication that does not involve time and space. And therefore, time and space are not involved in it. Why? Because it works through the hue. And it comes today, because of what happened 6 years ago or so, with a special type of protection. So when people begin to use it, it protects them even on a world like this to continue that unfolding process. And it's focused on tyrants as well, because tyrants in this universe do not behave the way they do under their own free will. What was done to people on Earth was done to them a long time ago in an even more diabolical manner. So if you take the implants out of beings, if you remove these negative emotions that affect the nervous system, then beings return to their normal state. And that's benevolent and kind, with the desire to really utilize the creative imagination to bring into reality those things which will benefit all life, everywhere, not just on Earth. And that's how normal human beings really function out there. Inner source. Okay, hopefully we're still streaming. See a red thing under the CP usage. Who knows? Hopefully it's still working. If it wasn't, perhaps M would let me know in an email or in the chat window. Okay, reloaded, somebody said, so it might have frozen a bit. Well, this is technology that's new, even to me. I have a high upload and download speed, but we're working through YouTube and then an encoder and other software to get this to work. It's not a perfected technology. So hopefully we'll do the best we can. Yes, working. Adriana said that. Hi. Somebody said I was frozen. Now, again, then you're working. Oh, so we're having a little bit of bandwidth problem here, apparently. Drop frames are happening quite a bit. No, actually, the streaming is not. It's a red. It's CPU. Shows a lot of drop frames. And as you know, we've already tested this before this event and shouldn't be having this kind of difficulty at all. We had a solid green. So I'll tell you what, this is all an experiment. Everybody hang in there. I'm going to just keep going here for a minute. Just looking into some settings. I don't know if I can stop that. We may have to restart this or even do it another day. Frozen on and off on his end as well. Okay. Well, isn't that interesting? When we tested it, CPU usage is now green, solid, and then it goes to yellow, then red. It's not steady. When we had it tested it before the event, it was green all the way, and we had no problems. I'm reading some of the chat room comments. So we'll take a break from the presentation just to see what's going on out there. I want to make sure this is good for all of you out there. If it isn't, my apologies, but I don't control this. Maybe YouTube or too many people on the internet. It's not because of bandwidth from my end, so I can tell you that. On-off in Mac devices. M says now it's good. But obviously we missed quite a bit of important stuff that needed to be said. So it's intermittent at best. I don't know if it's because too many people are trying to do live streaming right now on Sunday, my time. It's now red. Now YouTube's playing the same thing over again. Okay, well, I don't know how much of this is actually going to get recorded without interruption. I have never done a live streaming event. Considered it a little bit untrustworthy as far as stability. Refresh the browser. No, it's not that. It's interesting talking with all of you. You know, I just have fun doing this because even if we don't get this event up on live right now, we can have fun just chatting with each other. I've said quite a bit already to intrigue some people. You know what? Let's make this an event because it's live and it's not that long, hour and a half tops. It went off again. Yeah, M just told me it's gone off again. Right. Which means you may not hear my voice either. Right now it's solid green. Let me see if I can bring something else into this. Seems YouTube server's not keeping it up. Yeah, that would be my guess. All right, right now it's solid green and there's no dropped frames. I just called in a little help. Normally when I'm on any of these kind of events, live, when it's like videos at conferences, internet for screens at conferences, people at conferences I attend with their computers or their cell phones, we never have any interruption at all because it's protected in a very special way. Well, as of right now, this event is also solid green. Seems I needed to ask somebody for a little help in advance of starting the program. I already did, but it's always good to remember. And these are friends of mine from out of town. When I say out of town, I mean off planet. And they are in ships hovering around this planet, what are called out of phase, technically. It means that physical eyes and ears of human beings can't see them. They are not detectable on radar unless they wish to be. And therefore they can operate here and begin to help people in ways that was not possible before. And I think all of you listening tonight at one time or another are going to begin to remember much that you were deprived without your consent or awareness long ago, before you found yourself on this planet, with most of or all of your former memory gone. Another thing that was done to human beings that were brought here at different times in real galactic and Earth history, under different scenarios, was the shutting down of certain genomes on the DNA. As you know, people here have mapped out the DNA. It's over 1 billion genomes. And what they don't know is that, well, number one, they say there's some junk DNA that's turned off, and they know now it's probably not junk. They just don't know what to do with it. Genomes are like switches. If you have the right frequencies, you can turn them off and on. So when people get into a body on Earth, what was done here, genomes that are shut down are passed on genetically generation after generation. So when you get in a body here and you're used to using higher faculties from somewhere else, and you try to get certain things to work through the brain, they don't work like you're used to. That's all reversible. The hue begins this process. It begins to connect people up vibrationally to beings that do not, oh, there's gone back to red. We must be saying something very important. Now it's green. When people begin to work with it, looks like it might have stopped again. When they work with this, isn't that interesting? Okay, people love the sharing. Say hello to your friends. Will do. They are here. 3 ships are hovering above me now. And they're working with this streaming thing, which they haven't worked with before. And neither have I. Now it's green. When you connect through the hue, there's a certain protection that comes with it. But my words are not what's important to all of you, to me. Because what I do at live seminars and in my books, particularly this Aries Agenda, as I mentioned earlier, I had to publish 4 versions of that book in under 4 years because this Terrellian ambassador encouraged me to put special techniques in the back of it. So I had to publish it, a final 4th edition, and had to write and place in it these techniques which are designed for the prologue and all 29 chapters. It's not for me about selling books. I don't make much money from selling books or anything like this. I mean, I'm not J.K. Rowling, I don't make billions of dollars or anything like that. But the techniques are in the back of the book to benefit people when they work with the hue, particularly before they go to bed at night, so they can begin to get help when they're out of their bodies, when they're in a more expanded state of consciousness and not in these bodies, because everybody goes out of their body at night whether they know it or not. Primary and secondary implants in the electromagnetic field that surrounds a being, not the body. The Atma, what beings from other worlds call Atma, when we refer to as soul, is spherically shaped energy. It's not made of matter as people on Earth understand this. And it emits a field of energy, an electromagnetic field, that passes through whatever body it's running. And people see that as the aura. But the body does not create the aura. You do. It's interesting. And you once knew it. Everybody on this chat line, everybody that on Earth once knew it, but they don't believe it. They don't remember it. They have no confidence in any of this anymore because that's the effect of implants on their nervous system to misdirect them. This sphere has a field of energy placed around it about here called a primary implant. And it's transparent, but it has energy holographic programs in it. And you look through it to perceive the world around you, but it's subconscious. And what you see isn't what's really out there sometimes. It misdirects decisions because implants work by working so you don't see or hear what's in them. You just feel them. So if they're terrorizing or dominating, then you'll feel a subconscious terror and be diverted away from doing what you need to do to actually get back you, all of what you once knew. So my work is all about that. And I know this is streaming very well right now. But I find it interesting that people will continue to listen, and I think they are. Yes, it is powerful. It's beyond Earth understanding, certainly. Oh, by the way, the hue is not created by, patented by, copyrighted by, or owned by, or possessed by anybody on this Earth, on Venus, in the solar system, in the galaxy, in all the dimensions above the physical universe. No one owns it, and they can't. It's not made of matter energy, and neither are we. Energy, true. So when you work with it, you're basically connecting directly to Source with no intermediary, except beings that do not have subconscious minds, or not on Earth, human and others, and have never been implanted. Hear it when you do it. They never invade anybody's consciousness or psyche unless you ask them to help. Then they will. So this is the basic first thing that goes on here is to awaken what's called true free will. Now, a person operating with true free will only has that when they have all their faculties available to them and remember their journey through the multidimensional universe before they came to this planet. Because before what happened to them was done to them, they used to know this and get into bodies for a reason, live 1,000 to 20,000 years in a human body like normal human beings do on other worlds. Hundreds of millions of them, by the way, in just 1/4 of our Milky Way galaxy alone. That's how deprived people have been on Earth, knowing what they used to know. Because you don't have to take my word for it. If you work with the hue, the techniques at the back of the book, and you begin to explore and experiment with it yourself, you're going to find all this stuff out, the hidden truth that's revealed in it, for yourself, by your own direct experience. I'm not sharing anything with any of you that you didn't once know. I may be helping to awaken it or bring it to the surface so that you have strength and courage over this primary implant. Because what tyrants don't want you to know is that at the core of our being, we've always had complete dominant control over any form of negativity, being, or misuse of technology. But what was done to us was done in such a way that it makes us forget that or doubt that. That's all recoverable anyway, in the end. So my work is about bringing about an unexpected, uplifting worldwide transformation, contrary to all appearances. If you hadn't noticed, we have never had a nuclear war. We never will. One of the highest classified things there is that they aren't allowed to use their nuclear weapons above ground. They've tried. Launch computers just get shut down. I'm not worried about nuclear war, North Korea, or any of this stuff at all. Doesn't concern me in the least. What I focus my awareness and attention on is how to be creatively actively bringing into existence those things which will only be of uplifting benefit to others. I don't engage in splitting my imagination in half. What does I mean by that? Well, a lot of people are asking questions. Anyway, a lot of questions. We're not at that point to answer questions yet. This is more of the presentation part of it, but we'll get there. What I mean by activating true free will. This requires that beings recover the knowing that the right use of the creative imagination, which is what you look through this sphere out into the creation and see things and know things directly and talk with other beings telepathically. In order to do that, we cannot have our imagination split in two opposing directions. Kind of like, let's see if I have that symbol here. Some of you may recognize this yin and yang symbol, positive and negative. If you notice the symbol, there are two, both negative and positive, circling around each other in harmony, surrounded by another energy. This is the way we're meant to use and create in the lower worlds. Beings who are tyrants get you to think in dualistic ways. Put your imagination in one direction for the benefit of your life, your loved ones, and your family, but be terrorized about the future destiny of the planet. Splits the imagination half and opposes it. Short circuits a person's energy. Clever, isn't it? You know what brings it back first, even before implants are gone, is understanding and knowing what the right use for it is. And you just stop agreeing with it. Frequencies through satellites are negative, particularly through certain areas of them. And if your imagination goes to seeing a negative destiny for yourself or this planet, without knowing it, you connect to those negative streams, and then you can be manipulated. The you can disconnect that for you. But we all have to do our own creative endeavor and effort in applying it and exercising dormant faculties, or nothing will happen. After all, isn't that what true free will is about? Let's see where we are here. I guess they're talking to each other. Someone's talking to someone else. That's interesting. Oh, yeah, okay. Let's see. There's a lot of these streaming through here. Well, let's see. Here, first of all, I should say this because there's limited time here. If you ask questions of me that are designed to help you recover more of who you are and what you know, and you have a right to it, it's yours, I'll answer it. If you're being negative or attacking or any of that stuff, I don't have time for it. And I won't address anything like that. It would be a disservice to the people who want to know and why I took the time to do this. So with that said, I'm going to do this first. When I do that, the beings I work with, Terrellian and people in the Galactic Alliance, which in English is actually interpreted as the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, comprised of more than 450 plus million highly evolved spacefaring races in just a quarter of our Milky Way galaxy. Why so many? Because in the physical galaxies, in the physical universe, there are 144 parallel dimensions in it before you even get to the lower astral plane. And advanced beings know how to circumnavigate in through there and the worlds that are in all of those places. They don't use money. It's illegal. We have to here until we don't want to use it anymore, I suppose. And this is something that normal human beings are like. People on Earth have long since been made to forget what that's like. But they certainly can, I know from experience, recover all of this. So let's get to a question and answer part of it. Someone says, wow, that was amazing to hear. Melissa Nuckenhauer, I don't know if I pronounced that name correctly, but welcome. Michael Daly. We have experienced some incredible healings with those frequencies. Don't doubt it at all. I certainly have. Someone says if I know about bio-research. Well, yes. But I'm not here to talk about things which have been misused. It's also used correctly, but often misused. Okay. Hugh, yes, it's free. You know, I can charge money for book sales, go to conferences, make feature films. I'm headed in that direction because it could open up huge doors. But I'd never charge for or make any money sharing the hue, or the new ray that I talked about that is now blended with it that provides a protection. And it only works one way. To retire evil as an experiment within the subconscious, whatever that is, and replace it with the motivation, normal motivation, to only create that which will be of uplifting, beneficial value to all life, and not just life on our planet, all life. So you begin to connect with that when we work with it. It didn't get created on Earth. It's as old as all creation itself. It's like a fail-safe. When it crosses your path, sooner or later, it works in only one direction. And when you're working with it, no negative power, frequency, energy, or misuse of technology on or off Earth or people in or out of bodies can penetrate it or affect it in any way. Pretty big statement. All I say is if you work with it, you will find it out for yourself. I can share things that are amazing, that are out of this world. My work is basically sharing with people the viewpoint of beings who are not trapped, who are free, human and otherwise, that look on this earth from outside and look at it from an objective perspective, not like the one we're twisted to see when we look out of our eyes on the planet and the frequencies that surround it. So I wanted to make that point. Some people don't believe in planets. That's okay. I've been to too many not to, on too many dimensional levels. The hue can be direct. You can't really direct the hue. Somebody asked, can the hue be directed towards others? Yes, but you cannot tell it what to do with others. We're like a drop, this Atma, this soul, out of a mighty ocean of the same thing. We are comprised energetically of exactly the same thing as the Supreme Being, or the Source, or Prime Creator, in every way, in every detail, with the same faculties of creation on a smaller scale. Our destiny is to co-create new ways of doing things and return that to the source from whence we came, to share it, which means this source only creates new ways of running things in the universe from us, parts of it, aspects of it, eternal. When you go back to the source, you don't lose this individuality. It doesn't merge into a oneness and you're the whole thing. That never happens. This Atma is forever. It's not made of energy that can be destroyed in the lower dimensions of time and space. Tyrants know that, but they found ways to manipulate what you see out of it. They can't kill it or destroy it. And again, I say that's all reversible. Sue, thank you, Scott. You has helped me releasing. Life is greater than we were told, and you show you create it with your mind and beliefs. True. Only then can you see your meanings and allow you to see them in their true form. Omar, yeah. How do I get rid of my implants? Watch some videos I have on YouTube, particularly maybe the one from Finland where I helped set up a very special international conference. It wasn't done to make money. I'll do a presentation there that won't be interrupted like this one in the beginning was. And you can learn a lot, and you can get the book if you want. It's up to you. And work with the techniques, but I share a lot. When I share at a conference, I don't just share data or information. I demonstrate 12 different tone levels of this hue and get the attendees doing it with me. And what happens is a connection is made with them they're not conscious of. That will help them. It's permanent. It's not reversible. It isn't psychic. There's no negative involved in it. No evil beings. No technology like that. I've been working with it for 37 years alone in this planet, and for billions of years before that. And so is everyone else. They just don't remember it. They don't have a reality anymore. If you've been reincarnating without any conscious awareness from life to life, without knowing it, and what you used to know in the universe was taken from you 500,000 years ago, or 100,000 years ago, or 10,000 years ago, if you go through that doorway and recover it, it's beyond amazing what you remember and recall about the actual nature of the multidimensional creation and what our destiny really is in it. Oh, goodness, 12, yes. Getting rid of implants. The friends I work with, friends from out of town, there's a couple I work with, Shantial and Tonaltial, part of a galactic alliance. They're tasked on missions to this planet right now. And along with Torelli and the ambassador of the Say race, which I talked about earlier, he's human, but in their life form, they're like 18 feet tall. We get our genomes, our DNA from them. So do most of the other races. One thing I need to share with everybody is that human beings and all the races you have on this planet never evolved here originally. Not from amoebas, not from Cro-Magnon man. That's all theory and it's not provable. They're never going to find a link there because human beings are one of the oldest creations out in the multidimensional universe, billions of years old in this form and higher. And people were brought to this earth under one scenario or another, usually to do the dirty work in like mining and other things under treaty. It's a long story. You can find it out on the Savior's Agenda if you want, or on my videos. Won't be enough time to go into that here. But when I share these things with people, it's because I know they're capable of recovering it for themselves. I did it against all odds on this earth. So I'm carrying out a mission now that's 60 years delayed. When I began this, I didn't have the protection I have now. So I'm sharing that with all of you. I'm reading some of these things on the chat room, see what I can answer. So we just sit down, chat you while we meditate. I have in the past. Do we do it all the time? Tell you. Hi. I recommend this, and there's a reason for it. Say before you go to sleep at night, when things are quiet, people are out of their bodies or most of your neighborhoods are asleep. Take just 10 or 15 minutes a night. Get comfortable, take a few deep breaths. Imagine first someone you love and appreciate and that you're grateful for having in your life. It can be a person, place, or a thing, a cat, a pet, a lover, a loved one, children, a beautiful waterfall, a butterfly, anything, as long as it's genuine. Then send out the hue 5 times like this. You. Pause, just look and listen. Raise the tone a bit. You're going to feel uplifted. It's going to make you peaceful. It also has the capability of turning off implants you don't even know are there. That can affect your judgment, your feelings, fear, all that stuff. And it gives you the opportunity to work with your own true free will again, to unravel the rest through your own effort. Here's what I say after the 5 U's. We got a red signal. Looks like it's being interrupted again. Okay. Send out this statement. I'll wait till it turns green. We'll talk about the eclipse in a moment. It's green. Send out this statement. Consciously, telepathically, out loud. Here it is. Safely show me deliberately hidden truth on a grand multidimensional scale, and the much greater knowing of the expansive love within it. Then go into the hue for another 10 or so minutes, and you'll notice a phenomena. Same for everyone. You'll just come to a stop. It just happens. And then you go to sleep without giving a second thought to experience whether you have it or not, or get out of your body or not. And if you do that over a period for adults up to 30 days, wondrous things will happen. Things will cross your path. You'll have different connections, different insights into things. Recall, remembering what you once were on another planet, all this kind of thing. And you'll get the help you're requesting. Not from tyrants, not from classified people here or governments of this world, but from people who live in systems, and there's the red again, big shifts the next day after using the hue, Jeff. Yeah, I feel it, tell you. Lovely overtones. Oh. Would it be advisable to hue during the eclipse? Absolutely. Because only benevolent streams of energy through this new ray will pass through you to this planet. You become instantly a co-creator for the transformation of this world when you do that. You are actually contributing then with the right use of your imagination. Steer away from fearing the future. See yourself and this world transformed for the first time in galactic history. And you will be working co-creatively with billions of other beings that you've been made to forget exist. And they know what they're doing. Shantial and Tonaltial I mentioned earlier, the man, husband and wife team aboard one of these ships right now, looks to be about 36, as does she. He's 356 or 7 years old. She's 257. Normal human beings in other worlds live 1,000 up to 20,000 years, depending on their choice. They don't have bacteria, microscopic life in their bodies. They got rid of that first area of evolution long ago when higher forms took over, because later, if they're both in existence on the same planet, they compete with each other. There's other reasons why they have such longevity. That has to do with all their genomes being on their DNA. And they use 100% of their brain, not 6 to 10. And they have photographic memories. The children are like this. A child on a normal human world, by the time they're 10, has the equivalency of 10 PhDs of a human on this planet, simply because they're normal. They're not affected by implants. They haven't been raided and dominated by tyrants in galactic history. There was a great war 500,000 years ago that destroyed many worlds in our galaxy, and it came to an end. The tyrants were defeated. Benevolent beings didn't go to their home planet and waste them and kill everyone like a reptilian world. They set up a treaty, and everybody needed to have time to rebuild. And under this treaty, Earth was placed, because of one scenario or another, in a kind of a hands-off Switzerland-like situation where no one race has been permitted to dominate or own it, and none have ever done that. Some have tried. There's even been nuclear war on the surface of this planet long ago. Didn't blow up the planet, but it certainly killed the life here. The planet has polar shifts that have been occurring here every 100,000 years, just like clockwork. 6 ice ages in 600,000 years. One thing that recently happened is that's been permanently stopped. This is the only planet I know of that does this. So cultures like Lemriel could develop to 100,000 years, and if you could get off the planet, you did. If you didn't, you brought slaves here. They were left behind to procreate with genomes and awareness shut down, and a few thousand survive, and then they procreate and create the culture we have today. And many other things have happened along that time track. Human beings have been coming to this planet in different colonization scenarios for over 50 million years, since the dinosaurs were made extinct, and they didn't originate here either. Most mammalian and plant life did not originate on this planet. It was brought here at one time or another. So some of you may think, well, what about dolphins and whales? Isn't there something unusual going on here? Nobody really knows, but some people do. And people on Earth are capable of knowing it once they have those subconscious things gone. So this begins the process of implant removal, the hue. That's the best thing I can share with anybody today. And I don't know how interrupted this video is being, but if you get anything from this, I never charge money for sharing the hue, the new ray in the hue, or implant removal kind of things. I've been involved in some of that. I can't do that for everyone on Earth as one human being. It would be virtually impossible for me to do that for 7.5 billion people. But the vast host of beings I work with are preparing to do just that. And you can connect with them. It needs to be your experience anyway, not mine. If I talk on conferences and on radio shows and share people data about classify this or that, and don't really assist them to find a way to recover what I'm talking about for themselves, it doesn't do anybody much good. So people would say, well, how do you make money? Well, I published 2 books, The Savior's Agenda and The Emerald Doorway. It's not how I derive my main income, but that's where some money's made. So they're sold through Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and anybody can get them. Just go to paralleltime.com, my website, paralleltime.com. And this is where you find the link for this live YouTube event streaming. And many other things, including the Finland video you can watch. All these things are free at my website. There's no shopping cart at my website. There's direct links for ebooks of various types and the trade paperbacks for these books to trusted online retailers like Barnes & Noble or Amazon or iTunes or that kind of thing. But I sell nothing at the website. I have a link there at the top of the main page that says About Scott-Hugh. If you click it on, not the drop-down menu, just that, it'll go to 2 free recordings I have there of my voice sending out the U in 3-part harmony. One is continuously looped. It goes through for 24 minutes. And it's designed to be a boost for people who are having some trouble. Get on the website, turn it on, put on headphones, send out your own hue with it. Be creative, be active. And then work with it. And it'll shut off implants and it'll help you make further strides that perhaps you haven't been able to make so far. That's one recommendation. How does hue relate to the frequencies of joy, Jeff? After hewing, I'm feeling more joy, of course, and I'm getting messages from higher guidance that joy invites soul more fully into the body or thoughts. It's your awareness, your experience. Go with it. YouTube streaming is slow, M. It's green now. Damn, probably when time I get these messages, it's 15 seconds delayed. It's just the way the technology is. We couldn't get around it. So I'll get your messages maybe 15 minutes after you write them, and I'll do my best to respond to them. Omar says, hewing is wrestling. I didn't get that word. Vibration through sound, and all others will align. That's true. YouTube has some delay. I have 3 devices on and re-on and off. Yep. And someone post where he said, I lost the connection. Okay, maybe you two could, and some of you can post. Some of you heard some of this and others want to know. We'll have it up as a recording anyway. And we may have to do this again and see if we can't sort out why we're getting this interruption, because it's all green now, but something interrupts and it's not my upload speed. That's not it. When we tested it, it was perfect all the way through a number of trials. But once we're live, actually, with YouTube and the encoder connected, we get into this kind of thing. Other people probably do too. Any insights into the eclipse? First of all, I'm not concerned about the eclipse one tiny little bit. It's a natural event. It's not going to ruin the world. It's not going to change the world. It may shield some of the North American continent from infrared and ultraviolet for a little bit. It's kind of uplifting. Don't expect any sudden change on Earth from this event, no matter what anybody's said. I go and look at this world with friends from out of town. I get off the planet and look at this is not going to harm anyone. There has been an increase in the sun's intense energy over a number of years now. That affects global warming, but that's not the cause of it. And so some people are trying to shield the Earth in a way, but they're going about it the wrong way. And they're starting to back off doing it. That's interesting. And so insights into the eclipse is, don't make it a bigger deal than it is. There's a lot more going on beyond the eclipse, like what's happening out amongst races among the stars and how that's going to affect every living thing on this planet. Far more important than a natural phenomena of the moon passing in front of the sun, because that's all an eclipse is. Okay. You're welcome. It's normal. Always happens. Sound is very powerful. Yes, and it is. But what's important about whether the hue is powerful or what I say is powerful. I never even use the word power because tyrants love it. But as far as energy and having enough energy to do something, the hue will set up the circumstances in a person's life. If they're sincere. If you give free will to beings that can really help you undo what was done to you, they will help. I know this for a fact. However, do not wait around and wait for some savior or some magic person to wave a magic wand and do it all for you while you sit on your butt, sorry to say, and do nothing. Because tyrants are the only ones that like to make people an effect of something without their effort involved. Benevolent beings want you to exercise your higher faculties and your godly creative abilities and encourage us to do that so that we can awaken dormant faculties and get used to how to use them again. Some people have been shut down like this, reincarnating unconscious from life to life for 500,000 years. It's a pretty tricky knot to unravel. The people I shared with you all about know how to do this. So you won't find me charging for this kind of thing. This YouTube video will never have. I'm not even put any monetization on it. I think the fellow that wrote the beautiful music, Sean Paul, Diamonds of the Sea, which I'm using by permission, love this piece. He might have, through his company, CD Baby or somebody, they might, monetize some advertisements on the front of the video. I don't care. I'm not in it for that. So just so you know. And thanks to Sean Paul, because I really do love this piece of music he wrote. It's quite beautiful. Let's see. Lemuria. Oh, Mooney, actually. Yeah, each of us has its own inner universe. Yes, we do. Okay, let's see. We got green. Lemuria, this will help people in recovering more of what the Emerald Doorway reveals. They're written like very visual, very adventuresome. There's over 30 illustrations in this book. The special techniques are in the back of this book that work with the hue and the chapters and with beings off-world, etc. Lemuria, before it was destroyed 100,000 years ago, the poles flipped overnight. Not just the gravitational, the physical pole. It destroyed a continent the size of the Ring of Fire. You can trace it on a globe or a sphere or a map. It was north and south centered over the equator. At that time, on the other side of the equator, 2/3 its size was this thing called Atlantis. And it was a colony continent, almost independent, and by permission was going to be independent when these were destroyed. What remained, when the oceans rose new continents quite violently, quite quickly, and many continental land masses were sunk, like Lemurian Atlantis, was a 500 square mile, roughly, volcanic island with some people that survived on it, which over 35,000 years later became the colonizing power on Earth. And then I think Edgar Cayce goes back to 35,000 years he could read. Somebody will have to correct me on this. I'm not an expert. I think he could go back only as far as 35,000 years at the time of the Atlantis destruction he knew. But that wasn't even the original Atlantis. Is it any wonder people are so confused? They try to argue about when Lemuria was or where it was. Remember this. Picture the planet's poles as they are this way, and then picture the continents and try to figure out where it is, because that's what you'd have to do. Anyway, there have been cultures and civilizations on this planet going back, like I said, 50 million years that have come and gone in a history people on Earth have been made entirely to forget. But people out in the Galactic Alliance do not forget. And they have this history recorded, and you can go check it out for yourself. Wouldn't do me any good to tell you all about it. I'd be telling you what all of us should discover for ourselves. Then we know it with certainty. We're not in doubt and fear and speculation and theory and wonder anymore. We know. A normal human being knows. They don't question or doubt things. So there is that Lemuria, and then there's other cultures. Maldek was a planet that was blown apart from the core outward through the misuse of one device millions of years ago. It destroyed the atmosphere of Mars. It was positioned in the orbit of a planet between Mars and Jupiter, where our asteroid field is now, circling in the orbit of the sun. Those beings, when they perished there, came here. So did many others. So there's a history in galactic history and Earth history that people need to recover. Why? Because they once knew it. I'm not special in this way. Neither are the beings from other worlds. They're just beings. Normal beings aren't on ego trips or have power over people or want to dominate or lie to anybody. They'd never even think of it. It's illegal to have money on those planets. Tyrants created as an artificial way to control people. There's no value in it. We have to use it for now, even I do, as a practical measure because our world is not yet free from such things. Even tyrants won't want to use it when they remember who they are. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Nikki Brown, I swim with 200 wild dolphins in New Zealand. I would say their frequency is the same as you. They are very special, aren't they? They didn't originate in biologically on this planet. Heads up. You frills, Jeff, frequency. You feels like we are opening a high-speed broadband connection between our physical selves and our higher selves that can't be hacked. That's it exactly. Good analogy, Jeff. Thanks, Talia. Who has the history? You do. Also the Galactic Alliance. So if you associate with them of free will, why would they deny you knowing things or showing you things? Crop circles. There's both diabolical manipulations for their existence and non-diabolical manipulations for their existence. Depends on who's running the craft that put them there. Reverse engineered craft from Earth, benevolent beings. Are there messages in them? Sure. But what good does it do to mentally analyze and discover what a message is if you can't experience the energy and the real knowing of what it means? There's that difference. Huh, yeah, could barely boss your kids around. Yeah, you're on. You do know what planet you're on, right? Earth. You're on Earth. It's not a normal human world, and it never has been. But it is now destined to become one for the first time. I, for one, am committed to be here to see it happen. After billions of years, torture, suppression, loss of bodies, and being here, I want to see it happen. I want to be part of it. I'm not running and hiding or escaping from Earth to some heaven. I can tell you the beings in the whole multidimensional universe don't work that way. They're very active and creative and engaged and dynamic and energetic. And they don't compete. They work together. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a quick look at what kind of time we're running. Okay, so it's nearly an hour. We had a lot of problems at different times with interruptions, which is not caused on my end. It's all green, no drop frames, but there were periods in the beginning where that happened. I get a certain kind of protection with things like this. Usually not with free streaming, because with Skype and stuff, I never get interrupted. But this one, it's getting some. So friends of mine will work on this from out of town, I promise you. We'll figure it out. We'll have another one of these. If people think this is heaven, I don't know how they could, but there are many wondrous realities out in the universe. In parallel dimensions, there's a Lemriel that exists on this planet that never was destroyed. The poles don't flip there. If people don't have an understanding of what parallel dimensions are, think of it as when you look out of the Hubble Space Telescope and they see all these billions of galaxies. All of that is in one time rate frequency, molecularly. Another parallel dimension operates at a slightly faster molecular time rate frequency. The matter is a little faster vibratory, and they're kind of separated from each other, almost like flat planes, and there are interconnected points that link through them so that a higher dimension can feed and keep alive a lower one. Extraterrestrial races know how to circumnavigate through these natural openings, and they can create them artificially as well. It has to do with gravity, anti-gravity, and doorways and portals and like all the stuff people are involved in Mount Shasta. I'll be going up there for a Telos event. I think the 6th through the 13th. But I'm going there for other reasons than just that. I'm going there because there's an extraterrestrial human base inside Mount Shasta, established in 1908. And I've been given permission to begin to tell people about it. Most of the phenomena from that mountain comes from them. They know how to go through these portals everywhere. And they're manned by people not of Earth, from very far out in our galaxy. They're kind. They have already prevented nuclear warfare 12 times during the Cold War with the former Soviet Union, and they're doing it now. I don't worry about nuclear war, no matter what anybody tries to tell you. Let's see. Yeah. Someone could be coaching you that's telepathic, but remember, telepathic does not work with the psychic things. That's more astral lore, where it moves from one pole to the other like a pendulum, positive and negative. You have to be very careful with it, so you hit the high points when you're doing any predictions for people. I don't work with predictions at all. I work with the Galactic Alliance because as they're starting to make progress into this world, things shift for one reason: to protect people on Earth from massive destruction. They aren't to the point where they can prevent everything that goes on here, a terrorist blowing himself up. They're working on saving the whole planet. They'll get to that. It's just been 6 years since this whole thing started to unravel, to come here to start to change things unexpectedly. How does hewing have an effect on money? Asked Jeff. Why we still need it in this matrix. True. I mean, for the light workers especially, who are struggling, want to help themselves so they can help others more. Here's the thing. Money is an illusion created by tyrants imported to Earth. It was never created here. Imperial bloodlines never developed on this planet naturally. They were imported here. And only in small places on the Earth, never the whole planet. Sumeria was a reptilian mining colony. They weren't human. Number one. When you see depictions in hieroglyphs about that, you'll see that the images are worshiping some space-suited being, and they're quite taller than humans, so they're not human. And they were made to worship them. Sometimes they ate people or sacrificed them. Mayan, Aztec, Yucatan, Mayan, Rome, all these cultures which didn't last long were tyrant colonies, controlling the beings who were emperors or rulers to get rare earth and minerals and other things off the Earth. Sometimes under treaty with benevolent beings regarding Earth, sometimes breaking that treaty, often breaking it. And there have been policing actions that have shot down craft on this planet. Roswell, we didn't shoot it down. Then who did, and why? This really leads people to deeper questions they should be asking if they want no real answers. And then it says, how do you deal with money? Well, when I work with the human money comes to me in ways that are quite unexpected from people and in situations that have had power and money and have been altered or changed for the better, usually when they're out of the bodies at night and they want to use it properly now without being controlled by it. This can happen for anybody that's doing benevolent work here. And money is just energy in the form of what? Ink on paper? Digits in a computer? There's no gold backing any of it. So the only reason it has value is because everybody's been brainwashed to believe it does. If you have a bank crash all over the world, and there isn't starvation in the streets, which people were saying would happen, and the bank crash did come and go already, and somebody makes up $40 billion of digits that didn't exist and gives it to Goldman Sachs or gives it to Ford, they just accept it. And everybody gets paid with digits or paper, and it just goes on. It's made up. Think about it. So easy to do. Is there a shortage of it? Not if you can keep making it up and get people to believe it. No. Okay, that's the answer. No, they don't work with friends from out of town, do not work with fear, guilt, jealousy, or any of the things people think are normal human emotions here. They are not normal human emotions. They aren't even human emotions at all. They're artificially created negative energies that affect the nervous system to divert and misdirect people. They're not real other than they're made to feel real. Interesting, implants get their energy from us. Just like plugging in your computer. They're getting their energy from us to defeat ourselves. This is the way tyrants work. When you become aware of this, and you begin to work with you, you begin to get detached from their effect. Interesting. Now let's see. 12 cash for clickers. I often feel, says Nicola, that I am connected heaven with earth, helping shift the density. Of course you are. That's being a normal human being. That impulse may not be normal for those who surround you on Earth, but it's normal for you because you're waking up to what you once knew about this. The only thing people really need is a little one friend in a right place on Earth, maybe two that know, to be a little supportive, to encourage them. They can do the rest on their own. Let's see, shifting density of Earth. Any other questions I need answering? It doesn't look like it right now. We've got a good signal. Let's see what our time's getting to be. I think we should keep this. Let's see, right now we started at 3. It's 4:07, right? Is that correct? I think that's correct. 4:08. Okay, we're good. Looks like some people are talking to each other now. I'm seeing their chats. That's good. I was hoping they would. Sharing back and forth after some event like this, which you guys will have heard some things probably you've never heard before, but all I can say is just treat yourself kindly. Consider that you may have known it once before, and you're capable of recovering all of it. I encourage you in this. I know for a fact it can be done, even on a planet as backward and misdirected as this one is. There will be a video of this. It's a live recorded event. I don't even know how broken up it was in some places. So Em and I will have to look at this as my co-administrator, guy who helped me set this up. We'll have to look at this and see what we can find out about why it broke up like that in the beginning. I think it can be solved. Again, it's not because of my download or upload speed from my end, where this is, coming from. This is just a simple room. It's just between me and you. No pretensions, no artificially created fancy office behind me with big screens or anything like that. It's direct. When I'm talking with all of you, whether you know it or not, I'm connecting with you telepathically. Not to interfere in your life or dominate or change anything, but to create a stream of energy upon which rides something that is liberating and helpful. And I don't charge anything for it. Not a penny. Never will. Not for this. So that might be helping some of you to understand what motivates me and why I do what I do now. Let's see what else. Waiting for me to sing. Oh, I'm not going to be singing. Anna says, you're going to be singing. I won't be singing on this. That's not what this is for. Okay, well, you'll hear me singing one day. You can hear the album I've done called Stranger on a Lost Island at the website. It's for sale too. There's actually 11 cuts on that album. One is called Lemriel, you might find most fascinating. Cello, viola, French horn, violins. Stranger on a Lost Island, the lead cut for the album, is interesting because it tells a little bit of a story about my own life in coming here and how I began to remember. So my music is that way and also woven towards feature film, backing music, things like that. And you can check it out if you want, hear long snips of all the tracks if you like. And you get an idea of what I do in that area because I'm a composer and a musician as well in my background. And from other worlds too before that, so it's a lot of fun. Does anybody have any particular other question relative to galactic history? How beings are out in the universe right now that are conscious, that are working collectively in, I don't want to use the word cloaked, but out of phase shifted ships so they can work here without being harassed by any military, classified people, or technology on the Earth, and they can begin to make changes here. If there's anything else you want to know, now would be the time to ask before we sign off on this first live streaming event. However, I wanted to say to all of you, there's so much more we could explore. You can't do much in an hour and a half, but you can do some. Atlantis, there's two Atlantises, Nikki. The one that really existed as a almost independent colony of Lemuria, or the motherland or Mu or whatever. These were extraterrestrial colonies on this earth. Anyway, human, not from here. And they built a culture over 100,000 years. When they were destroyed in the last polar shift, both were destroyed except for the small volcanic island, which, when new continents rose up quite quickly, by the way, it's not slow. Then it became the dominating sea power on Earth and colonizing power until it was destroyed 35,000 years ago through the misuse of science, actually. They got that right. I feel this Ewing has come to at the perfect time, says Jeff, an answer to our soul's desire for freedom. Gratitude to all the benevolent beings. You are, of course, most welcome. And you're right. Antarctica, what is down there? Oh, the big question of the Nazi base. And I don't worry about Nazis or anything like that. So much is manipulated to keep people in fear. This stimulates the primary implant to run the nervous system of people without them knowing and misdirects them in every way. So it isn't worth even indulging in it. Been a real pleasure too from me, Nikki. Good. Right, says Omar. Phase in this dimension, back out, becoming. That's correct. It's technology, though, not magic. You can find out where your home is, Mar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. By going through the hue, because if you find out where your home is, you're never going to get it clearly or really know it with certainty if it comes from a psychic or anybody else. They can help point the way, maybe. But until the actual knowledge is recovered of your own experience, it won't be really known to you. The hue only works to help people recover direct experience of their own. Let me make that point perfectly clear. And it comes with a certain protection, even on a world like this, to help you continue that process. It doesn't matter who's in power here or what reptilians are somewhere, or what aliens are doing what. It works anyway. 432 hertz tuning, Carl. Well, I would relate to it differently than hertz on this planet. I don't know if you're talking about the states like REM sleep or alpha states or beta or those kinds of things. I'm not in that field. But if you're referring to it as a frequency that creates either out of body or puts you in a still enough place to get awareness, or people call remote view, I do something far more advanced than that, because it's not limited to what the military industrial complex created to spy on each other. And they did that just until they stopped it, because both sides doing it, there's no advantage to it. So yeah, it's a much telepathy and going, what I call bilocation means that I can be here talking with all of you and be somewhere else in the universe at the same time doing something and have it connected and still be completely aware of my physical form here. More advanced beings like the Sawyers can be in as many as 8 places at once, simultaneously running bodies and doing things. Quite amazing. They have more strands in DNA than we do. Normal human beings on other worlds have 4-stranded DNA. We did once. So even 2 isn't normal, and people are sure it is because that's the only science they know. But they don't know the science out there in the rest of creation, do they? Some classified people do with PhDs, but they're not allowed to talk about it to the non-classified academician PhDs. Interesting. I don't know if we're stopped streaming or let's see what we got here. It says, why aren't your friends from Off-World more active? Oh, they are extremely active. I work with them all the time. You might ask yourself, why aren't they working with you more consciously? I would say this, never put yourself down. It's just because you haven't worked with techniques that will connect you to them of your own true free will. I'm not talking about the free will you think you had you grew up here on Earth where you don't remember everything. The one where you know. That, I would say, in people I'm seeing on the chat, are starting to surface in people on this planet now. And it's going to be ramped up significantly. Let's see, Purple. Scott, my question is not being seen by you. It isn't? What's your question? Let's see if I can find it earlier. Okay, I did see that. Let's see if another one here. Scott, my question is being deleted. No, it's not being deleted. We get questions typed in about 15 seconds delayed from the time you type them in before I see them. And somebody else says, Purple Sky, I don't see a question from you. Post it again. Okay, very humble of you to say, Scott. Oh, hi, Anna. Question has a link, it might get deleted. Okay, if a question has a link, this isn't about other people promoting their work through my event. So you got to be careful about trying to do that. That's being done on the YouTube side of things. How long will it take the hue to decalcify the pineal gland? Got it. Okay. The hue does this naturally, but you can eat seaweed. If you're not allergic to iodine, you can take iodine drops from a health food store. But whenever you begin to focus your imagination of choice only benevolently, only in a constructive way for the good of all life, no matter what's going on in this world, no matter what the press says, it's all manipulated. And it's affected by the satellites, and it affects subconscious control programs in people. It begins to shut those down or turn them off long enough for you to recover true free will and act in the right direction with those people who can help you. So it will decalcify that as you exercise your higher faculties, as you have the courage, as we have the courage, I should say, to explore things that the primary and secondary implants in the subconscious domain try to influence you to ignore, take lightly, don't look at, it's not real. Unfortunately, that just keeps a person from changing at all for the rest of their life. So don't play that game. Get away from it. You have the ability. And so you can work with it and discover how long it takes for yourself. In other words, you work with the pineal gland, you work with the hue. You start to bring back memories of, vivid memories of dreams, which are really not dreams, by the way. You're really out of your body exploring the multidimensional parallel dimensions of the worlds when you're in dreams. Dreams can't be created in the brain. There's no motion picture camera and projector within the brain matter between your ears. So who and what is doing the seeing of things when you imagine something? Through the third eye, the pineal gland. It's interesting. It's not stuff that you people didn't know once. It's stuff you've been made to forget, and you can recall it. Somebody asked me if my friends will show their ships openly in the world. Yes, it's in the Series Agenda book. Part of the book is about the near future, and it was written with Ambassador Terrellian's help and some help from the Galactic Alliance. Usually they travel in 3 pairs of ships, 8 men and women, 4 couples on each, usually married. They're highly developed, highly experienced teams that are beginning to work with unraveling the knot in hidden leaders, classified people, and people on Earth. Simultaneously, depending on when they can give their free will to really get free of the stuff that drives them to be tyrants. Because I'll tell you the truth, tyrants don't really want to stay tyrants. They just don't know how to get rid of it. So that's that answer. Nikki says she loves connecting with ETs. Well, yeah, if you connect with the right ones, they're not all good out there, but they're becoming that way. If you don't get rid of the problem off planet with tyrants, which didn't happen before in galactic history, they just sneak back into Earth and start infiltrating things again, don't they? And they'll never go away. So my friends from out of town and I co-create, and with others, undoing the tyrant natures out there as well, so they don't come back here again. This planet also has recently had changed permanently the polar flips of this planet. No more golden age to iron age and back again. Because unlike other planets, this planet has not been able to have a civilization advance beyond 100,000 years before it's destroyed for a very long time. Other worlds have been doing that for hundreds of millions of years uninterrupted. It's not a fair playing field. But it's designated to become one finally. In the end, I can assure you it'll all be worth it. You're welcome, Purple Sky. I saw a ship when I was 3 years old. Likewise. Yes, they will show their ships, and to some people they show them now. When I did a Galactic summer conference, Rob Potter's conference, a couple of years back in Mount Shasta, when I had done a 2-hour presentation involving the Hue, the volunteer staff for the kitchen were outside the sliding doors looking up in the night sky, and I mentioned toward the end there are 3 ships hovering above you at 5,000 feet from the Galactic Alliance. And they are here to protect people coming to the conference, during it, and on their way home. And I was not lying to anyone. And when I stepped off the stage, the sky opened, 3 ships appeared to those 3 people, startled them, uplifted them. They came running and all excited to tell me about it. I said, well, you're very lucky. I mean, for some reason, they wanted you 3 to see it. I knew they were there. The rest of the people were inside the auditorium. They didn't see it. So this is the kind of thing that happens with people. Mine are like stars in the sky moving around doing crazy things. They can maneuver quite differently from craft on Earth. Who created Earth? Here's something that's interesting. Somebody wants to know. Anna does. This is one of the things that I have the most difficult time. Yeah, it's not difficult. It's just that I'm somewhat reluctant to share it because it's a truth that goes deeper than a lot of people want to confront. This thing we call the Atma, this energy, this unique aspect, spherical, not this, runs these, but isn't this. Can get in or out of bodies, can move between dimensions like the astral, physical, causal, mental, etheric, across the void known to the Buddhists. They think it's the end of all, and it's not. There are many dimensions above that. And it can move around without the restrictions of the physics of time and space. Some ships can do that at least between all the 144 parallel dimensions of the physical universe. And some, like the Sawyers, can move between the astral and physical planes, but that's very rare. Because the matter is completely made differently at a different time rate on these different divisions. And some of you may ask, well, how do you know this? Well, I had to recover it. When are we free? Oh, and who created the earth? Okay, first, the existence of this thing called Atma, what people from other worlds call soul, and the prime creator, or the source, supreme being, which isn't a being sitting up there ruling over secondary creations. This thing does not exist in time and space, but can explore, even get trapped in time and space. But we comprise collectively the supreme being, and it has a core, a center. And we report to that center. We're supposed to be able to go back there and download new ways we've come up with from our experience of doing things so that it can do things differently. And it relies on us to help change the way things are. One of the things that's recently come about is the retiring of evil as an experiment, because something far more incredible has been brought into creation recently. At first contacted the Sawyers and the Galactic Alliance, and now it's coming to Earth, that didn't exist before in eternity, in the whole multidimensional universe. It didn't exist. It's new. If you go beyond time and space from where we come from, we were all here at the beginning. We have no past, we have no creation point in time and space, and we can't be destroyed or created by anything in the lower dimensions, which means this experiment of evil, we were all responsible for at one time. Thought it was pretty slick, hip, neat, and cool. It's a failed experiment in the lower dimensions. It never worked. It trapped many beings, or a good portion of what you would call the source. And so it's being done away with in favor of something that will make the lower dimensions function as they were meant to, as mirrors of the upper worlds, without this dinosaur thing that's being retired. It's pretty neat. We're here at a time when something's changing in the entire multidimensional universe. Happen to be alive on Earth at that moment. It's pretty cool. Susan says, hi, Scott. I've been seeing people phase in and out in front of me. It's been happening for a few months now, kind of unnerving, but I am trying to get to the lesson to be learned. Okay, work with the Hue. You won't have any problem with bad boys. It'll filter out that crap and just make it possible for you to experience things that'll be a benefit for you. When we are freed, will we be able to go back to our original? Absolutely. I've done it. I do it. You can too. The Mandela effect. Is this a trigger to wake us up? I don't know what the Mandela effect is you're referring to. Yes, it is true that some clouds cover to size ships, but they don't really need them. They can just be invisible in plain sight. It's interesting because strong gravitational fields, if a ship were right above you and you look straight up, you would see what's above it in the sky. You wouldn't see the ship because light is bent around a strong gravitational field. I don't know if you know this, but people from Earth, somewhat classified, can actually see what's on the other side of the sun from Earth because light from those things is coming around the sun, bending around it. You can see it. Interesting. You're welcome. Tariff Man, I think is what it's called. He's called. I don't know what the Mandela effect is. I don't like connecting with tyrants. Why would you? You want to unconnect from them and from the satellite systems effect and all that? You start working with the hue, with the understanding there's a new ray in it. Explore that a little bit. You'll start remembering things. It'll be very helpful. You're very welcome, Anna. Okay, somebody, Omar, is doing math on something. Did the math of the visual spectrum. We see the spectrum of 0.04 divided by 100 equals 2,500 other visual spectrum realities. Okay, well, I think you're saying that there's, in science, even on Earth, they know there's other parallel dimensions and higher realities. They can prove it mathematically, just don't know how to get to them. When I hue, says Angela, I feel tingles on my face. Could that be the loving beings communicating? Possibly. But if they're going to communicate with you telepathically, you're never going to be frightened. You'll never experience fear. Your hair won't stand on the back of your head and you won't get goosebumps. That isn't how they work. Remember that. And if you ever do get that, use the hue. With this idea, send it to the source, whatever it is, that you think is trying to do something evil towards you. And if you send it with the idea it will change them instead of fighting them, don't put up your fists because they'll get you. That's negative. If you send something to that source that you think attacked you with the hue, it will not only free you from it, it will begin to unravel who's doing it and their bosses. You can co-create the undoing of tyrant beings. It's really a lot of fun. Oh, Sue says, I can't hear you, Scott. Did you turn on the sound on your monitor on your computer? On the video, there's an X or a little sound. You have to turn it on. I haven't heard that from anybody yet so far. But this is recorded, so you can play it back, I hope, when it gets up online. Like the line from Star Wars, Luke, I'm your father. I don't know what that means in relative to what we're talking about. Maybe you could elaborate? Billions of races here, so much more in other dimensions. Yeah. Angela, thank you. You're welcome, of course. Mine is now, no, I'm your father. Okay, I guess they're making some funnies about Star Wars. Okay. Interesting, you're going to find, as I have, things that are portrayed in movies and in books on this planet are people looking through the pineal gland unconsciously and seeing things take place, and they think they're making it up in their brain and their imagination. They're not. They're actually seeing it in the universe, either down the time track in another galaxy. They do their best to interpret it. Some get clearer than others. They bring this back here. It becomes books. They do this, they do that. But that's really not what's happening. Oh, somebody says she can see through the sun when she sun gazes. How cool is that? Thank you, Scott. Will do. I'll tell you. I was explaining Mandela effect. You look it up. No, I don't have time for that. That's something you're interested in. I do know about mandalas, having built a few. But the Mandela effect, I'm not sure. You'd have to elaborate. The Mandela effect changed the Star Wars lint to I'm instead of I am. Don't know what you mean there, Omar. Oh, Mandela effect changed Star Wars lines. Okay, well, I don't know about that either. Not my area of expertise. Was a fan of Star Wars, sure, when it came out, like everybody else. Made a lot of things possible. Avatar has made a lot more possible. You can basically do in film now, you can depict higher dimensions. You can depict the high worlds above the void of the Buddhists. I know how to do it. Given the time and money, I could produce films and take people on that journey visually and with the right music and sound too. So yeah, that's neat. What else we got going on here? Looks like the chat window's kind of stopped now. It's not roving. Oh, there it is. I can move it. Let's go down and see what else we got. Scrolling. Chinese dragons. What is down in Antarctica? Kind of got it scrolled up. Talia. Okay, let's see what's down at the end. Oh, okay. Well, let's see what we've got going on here. Probably should end this in another 5 minutes. It's already an hour and a half and 3 minutes. Some of it got buggered, sorry to say, through some internet interception, probably on YouTube side of things. I really don't know what it was. But we've been green for a long time now through a lot of this question and answer period. We'll have to do another live streaming event where we can have more assurance we won't get interrupted. As I said, it's not because of an upload speed on my end or technical issues on my end. It's purely on the internet, beyond my control, but I think we can get control of it. I'll work with some friends from out of town and we'll have to redo this. It looks like yeah, the 100,000-year polar flip, Susan, is permanently ceased. You will not have another polar flip on this planet. A few years back, the poles were starting to tip. It was in the news. Earlier this year, they went right back to where they were in 1500. You have to look. You can't look on the regular news. You got to look beyond that or you're going to get misdirected. All right, I want to wish everybody great, wondrous, uplifting, beneficial experiences from here on. Go at it. Try some techniques in the Savior's Agenda book with the hue on your own. Do a little bit every night before you go to bed. Send out this. It's worded very carefully. Safely show me deliberately hidden truth on a grand multidimensional scale and the much greater knowing of the expansive love within it. We'll talk again. Guess that's the best we can do with this new live streaming thing for the first time. We'll see how we can do it better in the future. Bye for now.